and I'm just sick to my stomach. Like, I'm sick. Even though I'm in the building, I still think he's going to bolt out and take my son. It's the most terrifying, terrifying feeling as a mother. You can't even explain it unless you've gone through it. He exercised the 2-hour visit, and he was in a back room with this woman, his new target, and my boy was screaming. I've never heard him scream like that to this day, and he's almost 17. I've never seen him cry like that. He was not a crier. So I'm sitting out front with my mom, and I had it just 1 hour and 15 minutes of my son wailing in this community center.
To Awaken to Freedom, my next guest today is Shelley Galloway, and her story is one that should probably be on Dateline. So I'm just, with that, going to introduce Shelley, and she's going to tell you her story.
Hello.
Welcome, Shelley.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here and happy to share my story, and I'm hoping that it will help other women know that there's an end to the dark tunnel that you're in right now. Doesn't seem like it at the time, but there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. So when I was 34, I had already had an older son. I was married very young. I had an older son. But I had been through a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of abuse, sexually, emotionally, physically. And so, I was kind of insecure and I didn't feel like myself, right? And so I had met this, I don't even know if you want to call him a man, to be honest, this person in Seattle online. And he used to come over to Victoria all the time to visit me. And he basically love bombed me to the point where I was like, oh, finally someone actually, likes me and wants to have a relationship with me. And so this went on from 34 to 36. And I started to find out weird little things about him. Like, for example, we were on the ferry one time going over to Seattle, and he got pulled into the room in customs, but I wasn't allowed to go with him. And he gave me his driver's license to hold. And he had told me he was 45, but he actually turned out to be 55. So that was kind of the first, like, aha moment. Like, who am I with? Who is this person, right? And he really wanted to have a baby. And I was 34 having baby fever. And so we ended up getting pregnant. And then everything came crashing down, and it became my worst nightmare. I was a walking nightmare. Near the end of my pregnancy, I started noticing a lot of things. For example, I found out that he was actually living with a woman in Seattle. Okay, I never knew that. Because when I'd go to Seattle, we would go stay downtown Seattle, right? Like in a hotel or something. I should have known better. Hindsight is 2020. So just before I had my son, I found out that he was living with a woman. I knew he had 3 kids, but I then found out that because I was communicating with one of the other mothers, because I was, I had concerns, I had questions, like who am I having a baby with? Like, who is this person? So then I found out that he has 7 or more children that the moms that talk know about. And so my son is the 8th son that has been born. 0 child support ever was paid to any of us, ever. So this man is a professional con artist, and he's very good at what he does. I'm not the first one, obviously, and I'm sure I wasn't the last, and still am not the last. Then I started to find out things that the other mother would tell me, like he would go into nursing homes, and he would pretend to make these like lifelong videos for all these elderly people and charge them an arm and a leg, right? And then never give them the video. Um, so things just kind of started trickling down, and more information came out. And now I'm about to give birth. So my mom and dad had their concerns, so they ended up hiring a private investigator for me down in Seattle. Turns out this guy has um, warrants out for his arrest for not paying child support. He doesn't have a license. He's driving on a suspended license, so he's been crossing the border, right, with his car. What? Not his car. It's registered to someone else. Um, so he's been driving right across the border. That was before you needed a passport to come. So he was just showing his suspended license and crossing the border for 2 years. And then I find out, so now at this point, this private investigator gets involved. The private investigator did his digging, and that's when we found out that he probably has more than 7 kids, that his court file in Seattle is like probably that thick. He has about 100 different aliases, different social security numbers. Um, there's multiple pages of custody court papers in there. So when we got sent all this stuff, my mom and my dad and I were just like, oh my God, what have we gotten ourselves into here? So what happened is he finished his investigation and we got this massive binder of all this stuff, like history stuff, court psychiatrists, forensic psychiatrists. It's just I mean, I'd have to pull it out. You'd be shocked what was in there. So at that point, I had convinced this person to sign a passport so that I could take my 6-month-old baby on a cruise with my mom. Okay, so we went on a cruise and we stopped in Seattle on purpose because we needed like hardcore certified proof to take to my child's custody. Okay. In between all of this, he's already moved on to con another woman. And just turns out that she's a justice worker. So he is representing himself because, he's the Royal Highness, right? His email even says His Royal Highness in it. So he is representing himself and thinks, whatever. He made a total fool of himself. The thing that really upset me, though, is so he had moved on to this with this other woman. So at first, before you go to court, you have to go to a mediator. Okay, so you go to the courthouse to a mediator, and we sit in this room, and it's me and my lawyer. I had no money. I was on legal aid, and thank God my friend knew a lawyer that would take my case. I lived in I'm probably jumping all over right now, so I apologize, but I'm living in constant fear. Like, this man is outside my basement suite taking pictures of me in the middle of the night. He is emailing my boss, telling my boss, I'm a business analyst, I have a very professional career, telling my boss that I'm a heroin addict and a drunk and I am a neglectful mother and that I'm a child abuser. So basically trying to get me fired. He emailed my mom's superintendent. She worked at the schools, or the principal of her school, did the same thing. So tried to get my mom fired at the time. One day I was driving down the highway and my car started shaking. And so I took it really slow and I got home, and my landlord at the time, he knew the whole situation because even Ron had called him and tried to get me evicted. Okay, but he knew better than that because he knew the situation. So this is so embarrassing for me, right? Like I'm walking into work, my boss is like, "What's going on?" Um, he told like these ladies at the thrift store that my mom knows really well that all of this stuff about our family, about our family. It was terrible, just terrible. And every day a new shoe would drop. Every day it would be something. He started a website, how alienating. I'm a parent alienator, and I've alienated him from his son. Okay. Um, so back to the car thing. When my car was shaking, my landlord at the time, I said, "Can you check that tire? Like it just seems off." And he said, "Someone's loosened the lug nuts on your tires." So in the middle of the night or when I was at work, I don't know when he did it, but him or someone else did it because he can convince anyone to do anything. It's uncanny how good he is at what he does. Like it's a true sociopath. Like if textbook sociopath. But he hides it so well, and when you first meet him, he's a charmer, right? He's a charmer. Um, so so yeah, I he loosened the lug nuts on my tires, tried to kill me and his son in the back, who was like 6 weeks old at the time. Um, some of the court papers that we read from Seattle before the my custody case showed some forensic psychiatrists doing an analysis on, how they do both parents or whatever. And some information in there was that he had had twin boys with a different lady that I don't know. One of the boys passed away during birth, and then the other one suffered from cerebral palsy because something happened during the birth. So one son was passed away, this poor mother, and the other son was very special needs. And I guess demanded to see the baby that had passed away, okay, and made the mother hold it against her will. So this is just after she's given birth, like hours after. So she's already grieving. She's got one special needs, the other one passed away. There was another incident in there where that same girl was, I think the boy was like, he's in a wheelchair and he was, I don't know, maybe 7 to 10 at the time. And she was in hiding. But we're all in hiding. I don't have my address listed anywhere. I got this advice from the other mothers. Hide, because it's the only way you're going to get away from him is if you hide. So I had never had a phone number listed. I never have an address listed ever. Um, and that mother there, he had found out where she lived somehow, and he had gone over there, and the window was cracked in the basement, and he got a garden hose when nobody was home, and he flooded the whole house.
Wow.
So now I'm in the middle of, oh my God, this guy's insane. He's going to probably kill me at this point, right? Or do something. Something. It's not going to go away. I know that. Um, so many other things. Data. It's hard to remember them all. Like I think we might have to do more, but um, I was this perfect target because I was suffered from childhood trauma. I was insecure, and I was like the bullseye for him, right?
So, did you meet him online?
Yeah.
Or where did you meet him? You met him online.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It was one of those things, right?
Right.
And then, so what ended up happening is we went to the mediation. So it's just me and my lawyer and him and this new woman that he's conning, who's a justice worker. And my lawyer, she at this point she's so frustrated, right? Like she's like, we got to get rid of this guy. This is insane. And so we sat down, and I looked at my lawyer, and my lawyer says, what are you doing? Oh, I'm his fiance. So so 6 months after I had a baby, okay, he's got a fiance because she's a justice worker and he needs free legal advice. Remember, he's from the States. He's not from Canada. Okay. So we're
So,
sitting in
but this
there.
is all taking place in Canada, or is this taking place in the States?
So the custody, because he was born in Canada, it
Uh,
we couldn't go to family court. So we had to do the mediation first. So this woman's sitting there, and I know who she is, but I know what he's con is this time, right? I know what I know it. Like I know it. And my lawyer just said, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm his fiance." And she's like, "Are you a lawyer?" And she said, "No, I'm a justice worker." And then she turns to me and says, "Do you want her here?" I said, "Absolutely not. This has nothing to do with you. Please leave." So she left. Of course, the mediation was just a pure gong show, a nightmare. We're never going to come to any agreement, ever. Um, and so we ended up, because he was from the States and I was from Canada, it had to go to Supreme Court. Okay, so now we're in the top floor of the court building. I am just beside myself at this point. Like, I am terrified. I am terrified for my son. I'm just terrified for my life, terrified for my family, terrified of what he's going to do next. He had, before the court case, he had installed a software on my laptop before I gave birth that I didn't know on, or on my desktop that I didn't know. And he's been logging in for the last 6 months from Seattle into my computer while I was sleeping. So I got up one day and I looked, and my mouse is moving around and my email is opening. So he knows all this stuff that I'm doing, right? I'm doing all this stuff. So because had installed that software where he was logging into my computer, getting all my emails, he found out some details about my life. For example, let's see, my son was about four, 4 or 5 months old, and my best friend was getting married on Pender Island. So I was the maid of honor and was the kind of, baby ring bearer, all dressed in a little suit and stuff. And it was a really special ceremony because it was my best friend growing up. The RCMP showed up because he had broken into my email. He knew where I was. He knew that my friend was getting married. He knew where my friend was getting married. And so he called the RCMP and said his son was in danger. So in the middle of my best friend's wedding, I had to go talk to the police. Thank God that one of the guys at the wedding was an RCMP or a police detective at the time. And my best friend's uncle was RCMP, and he knew the police officers that were there because he was with them that day. So, they all rallied around me, and he got nowhere with it. But he did. Around the time that he hacked into my phone, so about the time when he hacked into my cell phone and I had to, get a new cell phone, a gentleman showed up at my door. A random person showed up at my door and said, "Are you Shelley Galloway?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "What is your point? I don't know you. Why are you at my house?" And the guy turned around and walked away. And it was just a convenient time because it was right around the time he was hacking into my phone. So I don't know what that was about. I'm pretty sure he was already cultivating that relationship with the justice worker while we were together because, he would disappear for days. I wouldn't hear from him, and then he would just show up at my door. No, come pick me up from the ferry or anything like that. It would all be secret hush hush. At the time during the courts, when we were having the Supreme Court, he gave the judge, an address of where he would reside in Souk, and where he would take my son for visitation. My brother-in-law at the time was a land title office, so he registered properties. So he ran it through his system, and no such address exists. And my friend's uncle, who was an RCMP officer, drove by that location. It was an empty lot. And he told the judge that's where he was living. So my brother-in-law testified in court and said, that's a lie. That property doesn't exist. That's what I do for a living is I register properties, and that property does not exist. One other thing is he had convinced my mom that he was going to propose to me. And so my mom gave him one of my grandmother's very special, precious rings with a ruby and a diamond in it. And gone. Something you can't ever get back, right? Like it's not really about the money. It's about the the memories and the how much it means to my family. I served him with the court papers when he had a supervised visit with my son, because that's the only place I knew where to go, because I didn't know where he was. I didn't know where he lived. I didn't know. He gave me fake addresses. We'd look up the address and it wouldn't even be an address. The road didn't even exist. So that was the only time I could actually serve him with papers. So that was a Friday. And then Monday morning, knock, knock, knock on my door, social services. So now I'm dealing with social services. So I have to prove to them that I'm not this heroin addict, prostitute, drunk, whatever person, and that I've raised a son. And so that was horrible. Like going into the office and getting visits and trying, like, the only reason he did that is because I served him papers.
What is the end game here? Does he want custody of your son?
Yes.
So does he have custody of any of the other 8 children that he has?
No.
So he's just targeting your son this
Well,
time.
he tried. He did the same thing with all of them, but lost.
Oh.
Because his true colors come out eventually, especially to a Supreme Court judge. He's not new to the party, right? Yeah, no, he lost everything. He did have some visitation with his older son, I think, but I'm not too sure on that. But he definitely wasn't after money because I didn't have any. He thought he was the king of the world and he should procreate and create these masterful children, right? That's his mentality, because it definitely wasn't money. I can tell you that. I never got a dime of child support from him. He didn't work. He was conning people. He was driving, like, he was breaking every rule in the book. He had signed a paper before I gave birth that he was going to send me $800 a month while I was on maternity leave. I had 2 witnesses there that were not family that witnessed him sign it. And he tried to go to court and say he'd never signed it and that I forged his signature. So now we're in Supreme Court. He has subpoenaed my ex-husband. He has subpoenaed my 14-year-old son. He subpoenaed social services, child family. So in order for them to come to court, they have to bring their lawyer with them. So there's 3 of them now. Okay. I had to subpoena my medical doctor because he's accusing me of all these things, and she's known me for 20 years. So I had to subpoena my medical doctor. So now we have all these professionals subpoenaed to court. This court date took a full 7 days. Full 7 days. This poor judge, he was just appointed as a Supreme Court judge at the time, and that was his first case.
Oh my God.
Oh, I felt so bad for him. And it was just so embarrassing. Like he's walking around like thinking he is the king, the king of the world, and he can't be touched. God forbid. No one's going to not listen to him. It was just madness. So he had my doctor up there going, how is her mental state? Is her mental state like here or is it here? Like, I think she's pretty crazy, don't you? He subpoenaed my 14-year-old son, so my 14-year-old son had to get on the stand. And he was like, he can cross-examine, like, right? Every witness I bring. So he interviewed the social services people. And they're like, there is nothing wrong. She is a good mother. The house was clean. Her baby was fed clean. Like, he couldn't prove anything, right? And then, of course, I had to get on the stand because he didn't subpoena me. I think my lawyer put me on the stand. But of course, he gets to cross-examine me. And it was something out of a movie. Like, it was just so ridiculous and embarrassing. And I can't believe that he wasn't. This is the weird thing. He wasn't embarrassed at all. Like, like conscience, no emotions, just like a black soul. Like, just, I don't know. It was just like, it really was something like out of a movie. And so anyway, that court case went on and on and on and on. Meanwhile, I'm breastfeeding, right? So I've had to pump and get people to watch my baby because he subpoenaed my mom. And my dad was there to support me. And my sister was there to support me, right? Um, my ex-husband never ended up showing up. He's like, I'm not doing that. I said, instead, can you just write me a letter saying I'm a good mom? And that's a whole nother story that he put me through. And even he was happy about that, like, not going. Um, yeah, it was just a complete gong show. Like at one point, I remember like having to sit on my hands because I was going to lose my mind, right? And it's just order in the court, right? You can't really talk or anything. At one point, the judge has to have like a straight face, right? But at one point, I saw him roll his eyes. You just can't help yourself. Like, it's so ridiculous, right? The stuff he's saying about me. Um, you know, the judge asked him, how much do you think you should pay in child support? And he said, well, I think about $25 a month. And he's dead serious. And the judge said, sir, that doesn't even cover a pack of diapers. And then his reply was, she should use cloth diapers. It's cheaper. That's just one example of like many, many, many other things that happened. Train wreck. Like sometimes I watch movies and I'm like, that's me. I could be in that movie right now. At the end of the day, after all of these horrible things happened, I'm a basket case. I have to put extra locks on all my windows, double locks on my doors because I'm afraid he's going to come in the middle of the night. Um, I am living in fear my entire year of being on maternity leave. Because by the time it got to court, it was March and I was going back to work in September. So my entire maternity leave, I lived in fear. I thought maybe he was going to come steal my son because he's done that to the other moms. He's taken them and never returned them, and they wouldn't even know where they were. So I'm living in fear, and the court is over, and I'm still on maternity leave. At that point, I had to go back to work 1 day a week because I couldn't afford to live. Because at that time, I had my other son living with me too, and no support from that father. So, I'm not in a very good financial place, right? So I had to go back to work 1 day a week just to make ends meet, just to get food on the table. I had a lot of help from my parents, obviously, but, can only ask family for so much. So this gong show of a trial came. My doctor had to testify. Child services had to testify. Just me, it just was awful, like awful. And then you can't find out the results. Okay? So now the judge takes all the evidence and combs through all the evidence, and now you're on a waiting nightmare. So now I'm waiting. I don't know if he's going to be able to come from Seattle and take my son down to Seattle. I will never see him again. I know that for sure, based on evidence that I've heard. The thought of him even taking my son alone for 2 hours, it made me sick. So this is mental torture at this point. Mental torture. So I'm just waiting. Now I'm waiting. I think it went on 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month. Still waiting. Finally, I get a call from my lawyer, and I'll never forget that day. I was in my car and I pulled over, and My son was in the back, and I started crying. I said, please, please, please tell me this is good news. I don't know I'm not gonna be able to, like, I can't do this. I can't lose my son. And sorry, getting a little emotional there. Um, it ended up in my favor, obviously. Um, so I ended up having sole guardianship and custody. He was supposed to pay me $240 a month, which I never got. He was supposed to pay all the court fees because you imagine how much money the Canadian legal system paid for this court case, right? Like they had to pay for the social workers to come in, right? They had to pay, my doctor had to get paid. And so all of these court fees piled up, and it was about $10,000. So he was ordered to pay the court fees because he's wasted everybody's time, money, expenses, everything. That was never paid. He never did anything. And it turned out that I have sole guardianship and custody. He was allowed to have 2-hour visits at a public rec center where I could sit because it was a public rec center and I wasn't going to not do it. So he exercised one of those visits one time, and it was at a local center here in Victoria. And this is where this justice worker, this woman justice worker that he took to court with, worked. And so I'm like, God, and I'm just sick to my stomach. Like I'm sick. Even though I'm in the building, I still think he's going to bolt out and take my son. It's the most terrifying, terrifying feeling as a mother. You can't even explain it unless you've gone through it. Uh, he exercised the 2-hour visit, and he was in a back room with this woman, his new target, and my boy was screaming. I've never heard him scream like that to this day, and he's almost 17. I've never seen him cry like that. He was not a crier. So I'm sitting out front with my mom, and I had it. I just 1 hour and 15 minutes of my son wailing in this community center. I marched back there, and there I see my son on this little trikey bike thing. He's not paying attention to his son. He's on the phone with somebody talking, and my son is just sitting there by himself bawling. So is it really about the fact that he wanted to see his son? I don't think so. And I just grabbed my son and I said, that's it. It's over. I don't care what you do to me at this point. I have legal and full custody. I don't care. You do whatever you want. Can't do any worse to me. And so I grabbed my son. He's on the phone. He said, what are you doing? My time's not up. I said, it is now. And I marched down the hall with my son, trying to console my son, who is hyperventilating at this point. This woman walks down and says, you are not allowed to remove that child. He has the right to see him for a full 2 hours as stated in the court order. And I turned to her and I said, you have no idea who you're dealing with right now. No clue. I do, and I have a child with him. Be very, very careful, because that's my last warning to you. And then that was it. He never contacted, well, he did, I always tried to, harass me in some way, shape, or form. But then I moved, got an address that was unlisted. So, turns out that a friend of a friend knows this woman. He conned her out of $15,000. She tried to add me to Facebook, and I said, no. I said, I warned you woman to woman, and you didn't listen to me, so that is on you. I mean, at least I tried to warn her, right? So she was conned. So anyone he comes in contact loses something, whether it's, their sanity or their money or, emotional attachments or whatever. It's something, he is like a storm or like a tornado that comes into your life, and then you are left with nothing. And he doesn't care. He just moves right on to the next target. The next victim is what we are. We are victims And now we are survivors. So, my message to everyone out there, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If I can get through that, then any one of you can get through what you're going.
Do you need a minute?
I do need a minute.
Yeah, sure. You go right ahead. Can I just ask, were most of his victims Canadian?
No, I was the
Like,
only Canadian.
but the justice worker, she was
Oh, she
Canadian,
was
wasn't
Canadian.
she?
Yes, yes. I don't know.
Okay,
I mean, besides her, I don't know who else he was targeting. I have no idea. I'm sure it was many people. I'm sure.
right,
And here comes this
right.
U.S. guy coming into Canada, and I even went to border control and told them what he was doing, and she didn't care. It's women like you that let these kind of people in our country, is what she said to me and my mom. So I had
No,
nothing.
actually,
The only saving grace, Jada, is when they had implemented the passports to come in a boat or by car,
right.
because he can't get a passport. He owes like $150,000 in child support. So he can't come to Canada. So the last little bit, so I'm doing fine now. I'm raising my son. He's a wonderful young man, gentle giant, plays football. I'm a football mom. He's like my protector. We've been on lots of holidays today together and having a great life. And about 4 years ago, I didn't even think that I still had to be vigilant. Um, and I had signed up for the LinkedIn profile, and I had put my work cell number on my resume on LinkedIn. So now I'm getting texts from some random number because I wasn't dating anyone. I was single. And I have been single until just recently because I refused to, after that, twice bitten, twice shy. I am not going there. Like, my main focus was my boys, and that was it. Yeah, so I started getting texts from this random person. And he must, because he was very good with computers. Like, I work in IT, but he's like a hacker. Like, he likes to to con people. So he finds ways to con people using the computer. Just like you would get a call from someone overseas saying whatever. That's his game. That's his life. That's what he does. Um, and so I'm like, I said, I don't know who you are. And he kept saying, oh, I got your name off a bathroom stall. Okay. The pub that he said is 1 block away from my actual home.
Oh my God.
So I had to notify everyone in my work. I couldn't put my cell phone in my signature. I had to take down my LinkedIn profile. I deleted Facebook. I was in hiding again. And that's that's all I've ever heard from him. But I'll tell you one thing, and I know this for darn sure. My son wants to go to the States because he's part African American, and it's not really that diverse in Victoria. So I know that he wants to move somewhere in the US and play football. The minute my son makes any news, college news, his name is anywhere, he will find him and he will hunt him down like a dog. And so now at this point, I'm having to have real hard conversations with my teenage son because I've told him a little bit, but he's never really wanted to know. Like, he never really wanted to. He doesn't care about the other brothers. Like, his brother is his brother, his cousin is his cousin, right? But I always said, if you ever want to, we can do that. He's like, no, I don't want to, Mom. I don't care about them. I don't care. They don't really matter to me. Um, but now he's going on 17. He wants to move to the US. And now we're having the hard talks. So that is very difficult because bringing all that up again is something that has to be done because he's asking about it. So now I'm pulling out this binder from the private investigator of all these papers from court. And I'm saying to him he wants to get a US passport because he's half American, right? Unfortunately, it's not that easy. You have to sign an affidavit and get the father's signature on it. And that's the last thing in the
Mm,
world I'm going to do. My son's 16. Like he doesn't realize like what would happen opening that can of worms. And so I've just had really frank conversations. He's like, "Well, isn't that well? If he just signs it," I said that he'll sign it because he'll know that you're moving to the States and he will find you. Doesn't matter what state you're in, he will find you. Okay? And he'll be claiming to be your dad because you're now this big star football guy and he wants attention or whatever he wants from you. He will come and get it. I can guarantee you. So that's where we're sitting now. It is difficult, but it's important conversations because I want to keep my son safe, and that's my first priority. You know, I I hate to say this because I've never wished death on anyone, but I hope he's dead now. I hope he's dead. He was older, right? Like he's got to be in his 70s by now.
okay.
Um, but him walking this planet is a dangerous planet to walk on if you're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if you're anybody, to be honest, anybody in a vulnerable state, it's like he's a pariah. So that's kind
Mm,
of where we sit now. But my son's going to get through it, and we're going to get through it, and stronger together. And I know that. Just a little glitch in our journey, and we'll be moving on. I am not going to let that man affect me anymore. I am back on LinkedIn, and I am back on Facebook. Come find me. You can't cross the border anyway. What are you going to do?
right? Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
smart enough to know when something happens that even like my mom asks me when things happen on Facebook, I'm like, don't, it's him. Don't. He's just pretending to be someone else, and it's him. Don't
Mm,
don't accept any. Like I'm constantly on high alert for my own safety because of the situation. But I'm doing
right.
okay, and my son is the best gift he could have ever given me.
Mm, that's awesome. That I mean, that sounds like you do have an amazing son. So that's, a good thing that came out of it. But oh my goodness, Shelley, that's just, oh my word. So like after going through that, and is there any type of like precautions you would warn a woman who's online dating or anything? Because I mean, you hear of this crap going on so much. All these people getting, I mean, it's people getting conned, swindled,
Yep.
taken advantage of. How can a woman protect themselves from this, do you think?
Um, First of all, never answer a phone about how it's a free giveaway to a cell phone. Never answer. Maybe someone will contact you online, pretending to be someone they're not. First thing you're going to do is get on webcam. Or you're going to if you're talking through a site, get them to take a picture of themselves with a newspaper up with the date on it.
Mm,
These are
okay.
very important. These two things are very important because you need to know if this person is who they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's other
Yeah.
things you have to be wary about. For example, when I date, if I've started to date again, first thing I do is Google them. Second thing I do is Facebook them. And if they don't have a Facebook or I can't find anything of where they work or what, I am basically a mini detective, and you have to do that
Mm-hmm.
nowadays in this new age technology. Unfortunately, it's just opened up the for more predators. I mean, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying there's some great guys out there, and waiting to meet a lovely lady. But just be vigilant. Don't trust anything they say. You need to know where they work, where they live, what they do, what their Facebook is, so you can look and see. Maybe there's a Facebook and it's only got 2 pictures or 10 friends. That's fake. Nowadays, you have friends if you're a normal human functioning being. So just be vigilant. And, I, it was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through in my life, but I got through it. And now, like even the guy went out, I'm starting to see now, I said, how come you're not on Facebook? Even for our second date, I think I asked him that. I said, I'm not trying to be a stalker, but I need to know who you are. Then he told me the truth. That is, he goes by his middle name, and I looked it all up like a detective to confirm that what he is saying to me is true. That's what you have to do, unfortunately.
Yeah. I was just watching a W5 episode on YouTube the other night, and it was about how this happens a lot in this. Well, this was mainly in the States, but that the profile picture are a lot of times soldiers out of the U.S. and they're telling you that they're
Yep.
they're in Afghanistan or something, so they can't meet you.
Yes. Or
And they were saying that.
or they say, "Oh, I can't come travel to you because my I got into a car accident or my sister's in the hospital." They'll always have excuses. That's another really important. Thank you for reminding me, Jada. They will always have an excuse why they can't meet you, why they can't get
Yeah.
on webcam. Oh, I'm in a foreign country, my phone doesn't work. I can't get out of Nigeria right now. Could you send me $30,000 for legal fees? They took my passport. They'll try anything, especially for elderly women that are, have
Hmm.
lost a partner. Just be so cautious, so cautious.
That was the main target, it sounded like, was a lot of widows who are in like the middle age, whether they're like 50s or 60s, and they would often start asking them for money. And usually it was that they were getting a big inheritance or
Oh,
something,
yes, it's
but they
coming.
needed them.
It's
It's
coming.
coming, so I'm going to pay you back.
Yeah, yeah,
As soon as I get it, I just need to borrow this right
yeah,
now so that I can release these papers, sign it,
mm,
and then get the
yeah.
money. And the
But
one that I was watching went to, he was actually paying for everything, and then he brought her to, um, it was actually Ethiopia, and then he had all this suitcase full of clothes for her as a gift. This is a W5 documentary, and so she takes it across, from Ethiopia. It's supposed to be going into Hong Kong, and it's all the buttons were laced with drugs, and she got put in prison. She was the drug mule. She ended up going to prison, and she was in there for almost 9 months
oh
until they
my
finally were able
God.
to prove that she was completely innocent in this. She was just, and it was the second time she'd been scammed. Like,
Oh,
oh, I just am like, my heart just breaks for anyone that's had to go through this. Like, that's just, and yeah.
yes.
Well, with your story, you seem like a very independent, successful, lovely woman, and obviously you were able to get through that. But you never wish that on
Oh, no, I
anybody,
wouldn't either. Please
for
be
sure.
vigilant. Please be, please be
Vigilant,
careful
yeah,
out there. Cautionary tale right here. Be careful.
yeah. So with yours, he obviously you met him. So was it like he came into Canada after you
Yes,
talked for quite a
yes.
while, or
So
okay? So how long did you know
we
him
were talking
online
on the phone and stuff.
first?
I don't think at that time webcam was big like it is today. So a lot of conversations on the phone. And then he would take the ferry over and come and stay with me. Um, and then, I went to Seattle a couple of times. Um, and then I found out he was living with a woman. He had 7 kids. Now I've got this woman, because now I've got this baby, and I've got this woman now emailing me because now she's fine. She found out what's going on, and she's living with them. It's just madness.
Hmm.
Just
So how long did you date him before this all? Oh, it's before you started finding all
so
of this
I
out.
for about a year and a half, maybe two
Oh,
years
okay.
before I got pregnant.
Oh, so this went on
Yes,
for a
it did.
while. Okay, and so he was
Oh,
charming and
yes.
lovely this
He
entire
conned my
two
whole family.
years.
My dad is a professional engineer and had a wonderful career working with very famous people, and he had my dad conned. That's how good he is.
So do you think his plan was to try and get money out of you? Like, did he ever try
Um,
that
yes,
to
he
ask?
asked me all the time, but I had nothing to give him. Like, I don't
Oh,
know where you think you're going. I think what his plan was is to get out of the US.
oh, to get.
That's
Oh,
what his,
okay,
I think that was his
right. He's
plan.
looking for a green
Yeah,
card.
because
Okay,
all the trouble he has in the US, he can't get a driver's license, can't get,
right.
he wanted to marry me to get out of his predicament. in the US. That's what I think the end game was.
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds about right. Hey? Oh, man. Huh. Jeez. Well, that
Yeah.
backfired on him. That's good.
I have been never been happier when I heard that they changed it so you had to have a passport. I'm like, freedom! I don't have to be scared anymore. Like, he's not going to con a border control. Well, I mean, who
We
knows,
hope.
really, at that point. But that was like it was
Right.
like a
Oh,
heavy weight had been lifted off my shoulders, and I felt safe again because I was in
mm,
constant fear.
well, wow. So, yeah, because if he got that your son across the
I would
border,
never see him again.
that would be it.
He'd be
No,
gone, and I'd never see
no.
him again. So you can imagine,
Mm,
like, for a whole year of me thinking I just gave birth, and my son, based on facts, that he's done this before. So I'm just living in constant fear. I had
mm,
to, my dad come over and put like wood in the windows, double lock the windows, change the locks just in case he had a key copied, who knows. I had to reformat my computer because I didn't know what else he had put on there, right?
right.
Yeah, I had
Right.
to protect myself physically, emotionally, in every way I can, and my baby and my other son too, because I was had him as well. Yeah,
Right. Right. Oh, man. Wow. So this all happened about 16 years ago. You said that
yep.
this was
So, well, he'll be
all going on.
17
Yeah.
July 30th. Um, so
Mm,
17 years ago, 17, 16 years ago, yeah. And then
right. Yeah.
the incident where he found me on my phone number, that was about 6 years ago. Wasn't that long ago?
Wow. Hmm.
Yeah.
Gee. And with the technology and stuff like we were just saying, it's even becoming easier for these guys that are like
Yes,
this to be
it is.
scammers.
And
You
they
know?
do. They prey on vulnerable people. They
Yeah. And you're on Facebook and it's constant. You always get these, you have a
yeah.
pretty smile. Have
Yes,
you seen
yes.
those ones? And it's like, I don't know if people are actually falling for
I hope
that,
not. I hope not.
but I hope not either. But it sounds like there's some women that actually do meet them that way. And that's where they're using the soldier
Yep.
picture. I'm serving in Afghanistan and you should
Yeah.
message me or whatever. So, yeah, any woman listening to
Please
that, please
don't.
don't answer those. Please just
Please
delete them.
don't.
They're all
They
scams.
are
They're
all
all
scams.
scams. Jeez,
Unfortunately,
but well,
we need to band together
uh,
as women and protect each other. And I hope that my story gets out there, and someone in a situation similar to mine can understand and maybe take some life lessons that this does really happen in real life, not just in the movies. Right?
right, yeah, or prevent it from
Yes.
happening as
And
well.
the other thing is, just
But
one more piece of advice. Never do
yeah,
it alone. Like, if you're talking to someone, get your children to check into it. There is
mm,
facial recognition software so you can run through that. Like, these kids are so good. I've been working in IT for 25 years, and my son knows more with the
yeah.
technology that we have today than I do.
And another one is the Google
Yeah.
reverse search. So you just like Google image them basically to see if they're using a
Yeah,
stock
that's
image or if that photo has come up many times under different profiles. It'll
yeah.
tell you that. That's all that takes is a quick
The
search on
other
their
thing you can
photo
do is
of what they're
look
using.
up the phone number, the cell phone number. It's not going to show you where the address is or anything, but you can tell if it's a fake number. So there's a lot of
Mm,
websites out there where you can plug in their cell phone number and their possible scam. It will come right up. So
okay,
that's a
that's
good
good to
one.
know too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if anybody that you start dating starts asking you
No,
for money, as soon as you do not
no,
give them money
no.
ever,
And don't,
because
you
you're
know
never
what?
getting it
Gone
back.
are the days where you go Dutch. If a
Oh,
man wants to take you out, he can take you out and treat you like a queen.
right.
Or he can hit the road. Don't
Right?
sacrifice
Exactly.
yourself for anyone that doesn't deserve you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's very good advice. Well, thank you so much, Shelley, for sharing your story. I know that was not an easy one for you to share and get through. Know that there will be women who watch this that will either help them realize that they have been in that boat, that it's named that this happens, right? And we just need, like you said, to band together as women to try and support each other and help get through this and hopefully prevent other women from having to go through the
Yes.
same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on here today, Shelley. I really
Yeah, no
appreciate it.
problem. I'm happy to
That
tell my
was
story, and I really hope, you know, if it just touches one woman, I would be happy.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And I know it will. All right. Well,
No
thank you so
problem.
much.
You
And you
too.
have a great day.
Bye bye.